excited to talk about clean label cakes. So to start off, what is clean label? There is no clear definition of clean label. Clean label can range from anywhere from pantry friendly, where only ingredients that are found in the standard home pantry are used, to being defined by expectations set forth by specialty grocers. Some consumers may consider clean label to include any number of free from claims, such as free from artificial colors, mineral oil free, or free from artificial flavors, to name a few. Some consider non-GMO or organic as benchmarks for defining clean label. This lack of definition has created an ongoing debate in the food industry of what is clean and what is not considered clean label. When developing clean label products, the goal is to be as clean as possible with globally accepted ingredients. However, legal guidelines and consumer perceptions do not always line up and can vary by region. These clean label considerations change from one food manufacturer or consumer to another, which creates challenges for everyone. The journey to where we are now in clean label has changed over the course of food manufacturing. Before the baking industry was industrialized, fresh baked items would fall under the pantry definition of clean. However, due to lack of preservatives, the shelf life was short and bakery had to be made fresh daily. Over time, there is a demand to move away from the short shelf life and daily baking to a longer shelf life. Ingredient innovation allowed bakery products to have a longer shelf life by preventing staling and microbiological spoilage. By increasing the shelf life, bakery products no longer had to be made fresh daily. The increased shelf life also improved the sustainability of the baking industry by reducing food waste. In addition, food costs were decreased and the ability to feed a growing population was increased. Now there has been a consumer-led movement away from processed foods to shift back towards a cleaner label. The clean label demands of today don't have to take us back to where we were, but we can balance clean label with longer shelf life. So the clean label challenge of today is not only defining what clean label expectations are, but to maintain the shelf life, taste, texture, and visual appearance consumers have come to expect with baked goods. The various consumer desires for clean label without yielding on shelf life or sensory creates challenges to find the right balance. There may be some trade-offs to find the right balance, but with all the new ingredient innovations in the clean label space, it is not impossible. When developing a clean label product, it is important to first define your target market and thereby define what the clean label goals are. One way to understand the target market is by conducting market research to gather feedback. This feedback and understanding will enable informed decisions about ingredient selection and strike the right balance between sensory, shelf life, and ingredients that the end consumer is looking for. When selecting ingredients, suppliers are going to be a major assistance in finding, utilizing, and sourcing clean label ingredients that will provide the desired outcome. Shelf life testing is necessary, and it may be needed to optimize packaging to help extend the shelf life of the finished product. The evolution of clean label ingredients and requirements impacts all categories of food ingredients. At Vantage, clean label requirements have impacted oil-based release agents, water-based release agents, emulsifiers, shortenings, glaze and icing stabilizers. Today, we'll be focusing on emulsifiers. So what is an emulsifier? An emulsifier keeps two or more liquids that don't mix from separating. The result is called an emulsion. What is an emulsion? There are two types of emulsions, oil and water and oil. Oil and water is when water is the predominant phase and oil is dispersed into the water. Examples of this are milk and salad dressing. Water and oil emulsion is when oil is the predominant phase and water is dispersed into the oil phase. An example being margarine and butter. Emulsion chemistry is important to baking because cake batter is an oil and water emulsion, with water being the predominant phase and fat being the dispersed phase. So now that we have an understanding of emulsions and the different types of emulsions, what is an emulsifier? The classic example of two substances that do not mix is oil and water. An example we probably all have experience with is when making a vinaigrette. The vinegar, which is 95% water, stays separate from oil when the oil is added. However, with enough shaking, whisking, or blending, the oil and vinegar will temporarily stay in solution, which is shown in the first animation. Once the mixing action is removed, the vinegar and oil will separate, as seen in the second animation. An emulsifier is needed to keep the vinegar and oil in solution. So now we know how emulsifiers are beneficial. How do they work? Emulsifiers are comprised of a hydrophilic head that is attracted to water and a hydrophobic tail that is attracted to the oil. When making a water and oil emulsion, the hydrophilic head of the emulsifier surrounds the water droplet, while the hydrophobic tails are attracted to the water. This creates a stable emulsion of water droplets dispersed throughout the predominant oil phase, and it stays dispersed after the mixing has ended. As we can see in the last animation, there is an predominantly oil phase with water droplets dispersed throughout thanks to the use of emulsifiers. So that is what a water and oil emulsion looks like. But for an oil and water emulsion, the process is reversed. The hydrophobic tail surrounds oil droplets, while the hydrophilic head is attracted to the predominant water phase. This creates a stable emulsion of oil droplets dispersed through the predominant water phase. Emulsifiers work at the water and oil interface to stabilize the non-predominant phase, preventing the non-predominant phase from coalescing or coming together as a whole and separating from the predominant phase. Emulsifiers are powerful on their own, but unique combinations of emulsifiers are even more powerful. So now we understand what emulsifiers are, what emulsions are, and that there is a need for emulsifiers. What kind of emulsifiers are available? There is a range of emulsifier options from single ingredients to formulated emulsifier blends. Individual emulsifier solutions offered by Vantage are polysorbates, sorbitan esters, and glycerol esters. We also offer formulated emulsifiers, which are a blend of multiple emulsifiers. Formulated emulsifiers are convenient and easier to use than maintaining multiple types of individual emulsifiers. Using a formulated emulsifier reduces raw material SKUs at the plant and allows for streamlined mixing. Two formulated emulsifiers developed specifically for cakes that Vantage offers are CakeMate and our new cleaner label option, Simply Cake. Both are formulated emulsifiers that promote even, consistent baking and ideal crumb structure. Simply Cake is a versatile patent-pending emulsifier solution and was formulated specifically to complement clean label initiatives for cakes and sweet goods, following clean label guidelines set forth by specialty grocers. So now we know cake batter is an emulsion. How do emulsifiers impact cake batter and the finished cake? The batter in this picture was made using Simply Cake. You can see how uniform and light the batter looks. Simply Cake is a hydrated formulated emulsifier, which allows the emulsifier blend to be incorporated quickly, resulting in a smooth, consistent texture. This creates better aeration and creates cakes with uniform cell structure and browning, which we will see on this next slide. So you may be asking yourself, we know that the Simply Cake emulsifier makes a beautiful cake batter, but how does this result in a finished cake? This is an excellent question since consumers eat with their eyes first. Therefore, it is important to know how an emulsifier or any ingredient can impact your cake appearance. This first cake was made without an emulsifier. The cell structure isn't uniform and there is evident tunneling. When eating this cake, it is dense and gummy. Overall, it is not an appealing cake visually or during eating. This next cake is made using CakeMate, an industry standard formulated emulsifier for over 25 years. There is already a significant improvement in texture and uniform cell structure. This cake has a much more pleasant sensory experience, with mouthfeel and texture being uniform, soft, and airy, as you would expect from a cake. This third cake is made using the cleaner label Simply Cake formulated emulsifier. As you can see, the cake has an even, consistent baking and ideal crumb structure. Simply Cake was formulated specifically to complement clean label initiatives without sacrificing functionality. It is important to note that all three of these cakes were made with the same recipe, same mixing and baking conditions. The two cakes with formulated emulsifiers have uniform cell structure and significant volume over the cake baked without an emulsifier. The lack of tunneling in the emulsifier containing cakes demonstrate the mixing tolerance that emulsifiers add. And not only does the cake batter look better, but you can see that the cakes that translate to the finished cake, which also looks way more appealing. I think we can all agree that the cakes with the emulsifiers look delicious and would be our choice if we had to pick a cake from this page. To learn more about Vantage emulsifiers, feel free to reach out to me, check out our website, our LinkedIn page, and be sure to check out the BAKERpedia Cake Pocket Guide.